Hey guys, it's Jason DeLong here with Heartland Homes KC. Sorry, phone was buzzing. I'm here with Drew today, and we are talking about investment and flipping properties. A couple questions that we get quite often. So, I want to welcome Drew today.
Hey, Jason, how we doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Hey, doing fantastic. Pleasure to be back on as always. I know you had Nick on last time. Felt
Yeah.
a little left out a little bit there, Jason, but we're back again. So, got plenty of great questions for you today in regards to investing and flipping. So let's go ahead, jump right in. So my first question for you is how would somebody go about kind of getting started in flipping and or investing in real estate? And let's first talk about the financing side of that, of how would you structure the financing?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's probably one that we get the most, whether someone's wanting to start, in the rental business or, flipping homes. You got to get started somewhere. So most people don't have like a cash, investor right off, the get go, but they might. I mean, I have a lot of people that get started with, family, like if there was a 401k from the parents or, or, uncle, aunt, sister, brother that have cash that kind of pull the money together and maybe go in, and the family members are making some interest money on it, where the other investor themselves are, sharing in the profit side. So that's one way, but there's a lot of programs out there now. A lot of local banks are good to start with, like smaller banks that they, would finance, say the purchase price with the, 10% down, and then they'll, fund the project as well for the repairs. So that's a good one. Or some people just get, straight loan just for the purchase price, and then they pay out of pocket cash for the repairs. So there's a number of ways to do it. But really just kind of like doing some brainstorming, see who you know and who you can talk to get that ball rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's all about a matter of, if you don't have the resources, compiling the resources to start that as far as investing, or part two is, just kind of evaluating where you're at and if you wanted to take on said loan for an investment property. So,
Right.
with that being said, Jason, let's talk a little bit about profit margins. Let's first dive into kind of the investment side of buy and hold property and rent it out, and what kind of profit margins you could expect to see doing it that way.
Okay. So we've kind of changed this or restructured this, our method over the years, and we typically on a rental. I mean, the rent rates are really good right now. Rental market's good, but we try to stay, at around 400 a month cash flow or above. Because you get below that and you're on a shoestring cash flow and shoestring budget. So if you do have a repair that needs to be done, and or something that could be a furnace going out, whatever, that it costs you 3, 4, 5,000, in your first year, it's going to hit you hard. So it's always good to have some reserves set aside for things like that as well. But you just want that cash flow to be there, because if not, then it's really no point on doing that. I mean, you're paying extra money for that rental, and when it's supposed to be the opposite way. You have the tenant pay for your mortgage. So that's kind of our rule of thumb at this point. And I mean, it's worked good in the last couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, an extra $400 to stash away sounds pretty good to me, for those repairs when they come up, and or just that reserve fund for whenever that time comes, or eventually turns into cash into your pocket. So,
Right.
so no, that definitely, I think, is a great rule of thumb, to be honest, Jason. So with that being said, now let's kind of look at the flipping side of it. Buy a house, you renovate it, and then kind of put it back on the market after a certain amount of time. So with that market, what can we look to see as far as profit margins with what you're seeing today?
So on the flip, side of the business, I mean, there's not really a percentage. It just depends on the price of the house. But again, we kind of have a rule of thumb. Like we try to stay, use 20 to 25,000 as a minimum, because never fails. I probably can't even think of a situation where we didn't have this happen, but there's always something unforeseen that you have to deal with, or an additional cost, or the project takes longer and you pay more interest on the loan. So, I mean, $5,000 here or there could sway big time. So, if you're looking at a $15,000 profit on a house, and you have to spend an additional 5,000 to 7,000, then it really, after working on the project for 6 months, let's just say average time, that it just doesn't become worth it for most people. So you got to kind of have a threshold, and margins are getting slimmer right now, so it's really tough to kind of nail that down. But I would say 20 to 25,000 would be the minimum to shoot for.
Awesome. Yeah. Again, another great number that I'd love to get on a flip property. So, with that being said, Jason, you kind of mentioned this with the flipping, but I also want to look at it from an investment side as well, of a buy and hold, right? So regardless of whether you need repairs to a property, or you're working on that flip and getting that house revised and revamped, if you will, to put back on the market, how do you go about selecting the best contractors for what you guys need done for a certain property, whether that is a buy and hold or, again, that flip property?
Yeah, great question. So, and with us doing new construction and flip, our contractors are, for the most part, totally different. It's just a different mindset and their work strategy. So for flips, I mean, asking other people, especially reaching out to, like, if real estate agents who have contractors, I mean, reach out to people who have probably some good ones that they work with on a regular basis that you could, have price out your properties. So that's probably the best way to find them. If not, man, there's so many blogs out there, like on Facebook, investor blogs. Get on there, and people will usually share those contacts of the good ones. And if it's your very, very first one, and you're not really kind of being handheld on the first one, I would interview 2 or 3 for each project, just to make sure you got to use the one you kind of feel the best with, and what your gut tells you. So that way you get options. But and then on the rental side, you need a good handyman. Just when the faucet breaks, you're not just calling. I mean, you can call a plumber, but if you have a handyman that can kind of do jack of all trades, and you can trust him to get something done and not have to come back and redo it, that's the best. And again, I would kind of reach out to your real estate agents or people in the business, or Facebook, to kind of get a hold of some of those names.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, got to always have, I think, even as just a regular homeowner, you got to kind of have that jack of all trades handyman for anything that pops up.
Right.
Yeah, I think regardless of whatever you do, you always should have somebody like that in your back pocket. So other than that, Jason, that really wraps it up for my questions for today. Just any other keynotes or anything else you got for me today in regards to either buying and or investing in real estate right now in the Kansas City area?
No, I mean, it's a good market, and like I tell everybody, you got to start somewhere. So if it's something you've been wanting to do for a while, I mean, I've had countless people tell me, like, I've been wanting to do this for 10 years. I'm like, well, just do it. Just do it already. Kind of like Art Williams always says, just do it. That's the biggest thing. I mean, if you crunch the numbers well enough and screen your contractors well enough, then you're not going to lose, especially being in a good market right now. So I would love to chat with anybody, wanting to venture down this path, because that's kind of where my passion is. So, but that's my last nugget.
All right, perfect, Jason. Well, again, I appreciate you having me on. Hope you have a great rest of your day and a wonderful weekend as well. All right.
You bet, Drew. Always good to talk to you.
Hey, you as well, Jason. We'll see you. Bye.
Bye, buddy.